My name is Ian Benoliel, and I'm the president of Number Cruncher, the makers of Order Time. And today we're going to be talking about a disassembly. A disassembly is a transaction, one of our transaction types that we have in our system. And it's used primarily, it's kind of part of the production module in our system. And it basically has three primary use cases. The first one is if you're an equipment maker, or you buy equipment, you can harvest that equipment out of a larger piece of equipment. So if you have a large piece of equipment and you want to cut it down and chop it up to smaller pieces of items, equipment, then you can use that. The second use case is food processing, or really any type where you're taking a bulk item and you are processing it or making it into other items. For example, in this case, a cow, a side of cow or carcass, whatever, can be processed into cuts. Okay. And then the third one is pretty obvious. If a mistake is made on a work order and you physically want to disassemble the work order, you would do that. You would do a disassembly. Okay, to reverse a work order, really you would do a disassembly. So a work order assembles into finished good, and a disassemble basically does the opposite. Okay. So in preparing your items for to be part of this workflow, to be ability, there's a couple of best practices here. So the first thing is the item that you're actually disassembling should be set up as an assembly, because it needs a place potentially for components. Now you can add components, or you can leave the components completely blank. So for example, I created this item, and it has a bill of materials that is completely blank. I do not need to add any components at this stage, but I could if I wanted to. Furthermore, we can set up different versions of the bill of materials, one for assembly and one for disassembly. And if you're unfamiliar with kind of the versioning, you can create new versions. For example, if I wanted to call one this, work order only, I would create that like so. And then if I wanted to, for the work order one, I would add the components. Right. Now to switch from different versions of the same bill of materials, you just use that. In order to, you can enable the version control in the preferences, okay, under production. That's where you do that. All right, and then for the items that are disassembled, it is highly recommended that those items to be disassembled have lot or serial number tracking on. Okay, it just makes it easier to identify. Let's say you have a piece of equipment that has XYZ serial number compared to another piece of equipment that has ABC serial number. You want to kind of get the specific cost of that serial number to be disassembled. So it's highly recommended that we do that. In terms of the components, the resultant items, okay, I call them resultant items or components, they can be set up as either parts or assemblies, right? Parts or assemblies. And they have to be set up as either, because that's we keep track of inventory of either of those. And also when we talk about valuation, which is, an important part of this, you want to make sure that that each one of those components start off with a standard cost. The standard cost doesn't have to be the exact cost of the item, in fact, because you're never really going to purchase this item. We use the standard costs, and I'll show you that later, to proportionalize with regard to the inventory and the value. And you basically start off, I mean, if you basically, purchase the disassembled part, the first thing to do is you got to bring that into inventory, usually via a purchase order. So, you buy a piece of equipment, you buy, a bulk item, carcass, it needs to be brought in, and that's generally done via the purchase order. So in terms of processing the disassembly, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a disassembly. All right, so we come in here and we create new disassembly. All right, and I pick my item. Two. There it is. Okay. Now I can pick which version I want. I want the default, not the work order version. I want the default because I want a blank bill of materials. And I'm gonna disassemble 300 units of this product. Okay, it's a lotted product. All right, so I press save, and the next step is I want to introduce the lot number that's actually being disassembled. Okay, so in this item over here, I have two lot numbers that I received on this receiver. All right, and I have two lot numbers, and I want to disassemble this one over here. Okay, let me add the lot number column so I know what it is. Oh, it's right there. Okay, so it's X002. There it is. All right, so I go edit, and I should go back to this disassembly one more time here. Okay, so I'm just gonna, I see that they're available. I can obviously add them like so, but I'm just gonna kind of take this one, right? So now I have that item that I'm going to disassemble, and I know that the cost of that item, is when I brought it in on the transaction was a certain amount here, and we'll go ahead and disassemble. Okay. Now the next step is, so we edit this, so we create the disassembly, we edit the disassembly to add the serial number, and then we add the components together with the lot numbers if required. Okay, so the first component I'm going to add would be P2001. Okay, and out of that, I want to get 150 units. Save that. Sorry. Okay, so this is where I would add the lot number. Okay, so I'm going to add a lot number, and we're going to generate whatever lot number, and we're going to get 100 pieces out of this. That's the first thing that we're going to add to inventory. The second one we're going to add to inventory is the other component, is that one, and we want to get 2 pieces from there. Okay, so that's the way we add what we need to the disassembly. So that's that. right, so we've added the lot number that we're going to disassemble. We've added our component quantities. So just to again take a look at this. This 300 units is going to be taken out of inventory. All right, and we're going to add 100 of this one, and we're going to add 2 of that. Okay. That happens when we finish the disassembly. Okay, that happens when we finish the disassembly. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and finish that soon. And I just wanted to let you know that you cannot partially disassemble an item. Right. So if you have like a piece of equipment and you just want to like draw out a few pieces from it, it doesn't work that way. You kind of have to disassemble the whole thing. And so that's something that. So in terms of the valuation, how are the components valued? We start off with the value amount of the item to be disassembled. Okay, so I gave you the cost of that 300 units was 1908. We'll see that in a second. We then proportion this value, okay, based on the sum of the product of the quantities multiplied by the standard cost. Okay, so first we generated 2 and a standard cost of 50, so that's the extension is 100. The second item is 1.5 for 100, and so that's proportioned out to 150. We take the sum, and then we take 100 divided by 250 times 1908 to get that, and then it sums up to that. I'll go ahead and finish this work order, or this is assembly. So this is exactly what happened. Now this is what we're looking at here is what's called a valuation report. And I'm looking at just those 3 items that we operated on today. So let's take a look. We bought it today. We bought 500 units split up into 2 lot numbers for a total of 3,180. That first lot number that we had in inventory cost $19.80. So I'll show you that. So if we go to this lot, if we go to this receiver, there's the 2 lot numbers we received. One of them was the one that we disassembled was 1908, and then the other 200, which is another lot number, the value amount was 227, but that's not the one we disassembled. That's still in inventory. Okay. So that's why you still see that value in inventory. 200 pieces still in inventory at a total value of. We then took apart, and through the disassembly, we added this piece and we added this piece. Okay. And that's the exact same kind of proportion that we have here. As you can see, it's kind of irrelevant what the standard cost is. The standard cost in terms of this is simply used to proportionalize the quantities that are being produced. Meaning that on a disassembly, if you wanted to change that, you can certainly do that. So for example, if on a particular disassembly, you wanted to proportionalize this much higher, you would just simply raise the standard cost to what, to something that kind of in a calculation. A lot of people, what they do is they set the standard cost to 1 and then, $1 if everything is equal. If everything is equal in terms of all these components, you can simply set everything to $1 and then we just worry about the quantities. And I can overwrite it right here, right into a disassembly by disassembly basis. It will not change the standard cost on this item, only on this disassembly. So that's pretty straightforward, a powerful feature. There's another kind of piece to this where it's a little bit more advanced, where you might have a series of work orders and disassemblies that are part of a kind of a production cycle or production run. You can set up what's called a production order, okay? So you would need to kind of look at what's called the BOM group, bill of materials group. And in this case, I have kind of, you know, a process where I'm making soap, and I do a work order first, then a disassembly, then another work order. Okay, another work order. And I can do that all in one shot, or create all these all the work orders and disassemblies in one shot by doing a production order. All right, so that's kind of, I wanted to keep it nice, short, and sweet, and open it up for questions. So.
All right, if anyone wants to ask some questions, at the top right, you can click on the chat icon and type in your question there, and we can answer it one at a time.
Just a note, the video and this presentation will be made available through our KB articles, through our help site.
And also provide me with that slide deck, Ian. I'm going to send that out with the email.
Sure do.
Just want everyone to know that afterwards I'm going to send out an email that has the video that you just watched, as well as some helpful reference articles in it afterwards. So look out for that.
Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate your time. If you have any, by the way, if you have any suggestions for future webinars, go ahead and send it to, where should they send it, Michael?
Yeah, send it to michael@ordertime.com. Just give me any suggestions for webinars that you'd like to see. Remember that it's a free tool for you to, you know, better your business and figure out portions of order time that you really want to use to make you as efficient as possible.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Everybody stay safe and have a good day.
All right. Have a good one. Bye.